Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 1436. Today on Cars Yeah, we're celebrating the United Arab Emirates Concours Elegance that takes place December 12th, 13th, and 14th in Dubai at the Bulgari Hotel and Resort. To learn more, go to UAEConcours.com.
You have to be selective and focus on what is important.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Do you know the best way to protect your vehicle, both the exterior and the interior, is with a car cover? I've been using Covercraft car covers since 1975. That's right, 1975. It's a fast, easy, and inexpensive way to keep your vehicle looking new. Covercraft has been manufacturing premium quality exterior and interior covers for over 50 years with a stellar reputation for durability and design. They're the world's largest manufacturer of custom patterned vehicle covers that are crafted to fit over 80,000 patterns and growing. They are the only cover I'll put on my vehicles. You can choose from a wide variety of fabrics, styles, colors, and more. From full cover designs for factory to custom-made vehicles, plus convertible top covers, trucks, truck cab coolers, motorcycles, scooters, ATVs, trailers, campers, personal watercraft, and a wide variety of custom features. Covercraft is the right choice. Learn more today at covercraft.com and tell them Mark sent you. That's covercraft.com. My favorite collector car magazine is Keith Martin's Sports Car Market. I've been a subscriber for decades. Sports Car Market is the Wall Street Journal for the enthusiast and the collector. It's your monthly must-read whether you dream of owning a collector car, have 2 cars, or 200. Sports Car Market has been around for 31 years, and it's filled with valuable articles, intelligent write-ups, and the latest auction sales. Go to sportscarmarket.com and subscribe today. Plus, you'll get the exclusive SCM guide to restoration shops included for free. At checkout, use the code CARSYEAH and receive a 50% discount on your digital subscription. It's an exclusive offer from me here at Cars Yeah. I'm Mark Green, and I love Sports Car Market magazine. Hello, automotive enthusiasts. I'm revved up and so excited to introduce today's very special guest. Calling in near Paris, France, Patrick Rollet. Hey, Patrick, are you buckled up and ready for a fun ride?
Absolutely.
All right. We'll have some fun here. Patrick Rollet is the past president of FIVA. Founded in 1966, FIVA is the Worldwide Federation Association of Historic Automobile Clubs. Be they for veteran, vintage pre-war, or post-war classic automobiles, including motorcycles and trucks that are at least 30 years old. FIVA's goal is to protect and promote world motoring heritage. Patrick will be a distinguished judge at this year's UAE Concours in Dubai. His career spans decades and includes consulting and marketing. He has been involved in the automotive world since working at the Paris Motor Show back in 1965 on the Aston-Martin stand as an intern, and he is a member of numerous automobile clubs and organizations. Patrick has been involved with FIVA since 2005 and has authored several books and many articles in HV Press and Club magazines. In 2019, he was honored by the Chevalier's Order of the Arts and Letters in France. So, Patrick, I have told our listeners just a little bit about you. Would you take a brief moment, share just a little bit more about your life and your career and a very obvious passion that you have for automobiles before I jump into the questions?
Okay, well, it's hard. Well, it's always hard to say things in 2 minutes, but I'll try. I think your description was just fine. Professionally, I have been a strategy and management consultant for years with big firms, and I ended up having my own company, and I had a very good time meeting interesting people. Sometimes, actually, in some board of directors, you could find some people who had historic vehicles, which made things even more fun. And it helped me travel extensively. And, of course, I kept doing that with FIVA. Just one slight correction, if I may, or it's not a correction, but it's a precision. This international organization for historic vehicles, FIVA, is definitely for cars, yes, but also for motorbikes, for trucks and tractors, anything which has a motor and using public roads. Actually, let's face it, the car is a bit invasive, and our motorcycle friends or utilitarian enthusiasts sometimes are sorry for it. So to try to, it's just a little joke, but to try to make things a little bit more balanced, at any General Assembly at FIVA, anybody who talks of car instead of vehicle is fined €5. And
oh, no.
Yeah. At the end of the day, we collect all that and have a jolly good drink together.
Well, next time I come over there and visit you, I'm going to be very careful to keep my money in my pocket and say the right words. I think that's splendid. That's very cool. Well, we're going to learn a lot more about you and FIVA and the Concours that's coming up here in the United Arab Emirates. But first, I want to ask you for a success quote or a mantra. This is some kind of saying that's been instrumental in forming your life and your success throughout these years. It's a nice way to get the inspirational tires turning here on Cars Yeah. So, Patrick, take the wheel.
Oh, well, again, it's quite difficult. I didn't prepare this conversation with you as I should, maybe, but what comes to my mind is to choose your fight. We are, all of us, confronted with many, many issues, especially when you happen to be in a large organization. And I think you have to be selective and focus on what is important. Sometimes it's very difficult, but I think it's key to see the strategic element in the situation and not to get lost into details. Although details are sometimes very important. That's what makes the job fun anyway. Focus, but not to be afraid to see that a kill. I mean, I think there's a Polish say which says that the devil is in the detail.
Yes. Yes, there's
focus on the key aspects of a situation, I think.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I wish more people on social media would consider that before they start typing. It might be a more pleasant and fun place to visit every day and see what people's thoughts are. But I would imagine with a large organization like FIVA, this is very important because it would be very easy to get caught up in the minutia, the details, and all the little things when you need to step back and really look at the big picture. FIVA is such a wonderful organization. It's been around for a long time and is so important to the automotive collector and hobby and professional industry. I think it's great. You know what I was thinking of when you were talking about FIVA and vehicles, automobiles and cars and trucks and motorcycles is, down the road, 50 years from now, when they're going to be including electric vehicles in this whole collection. Sure. Which will be very interesting to see this trend. You and I will most likely be long gone, but it'll be very, very interesting as this big transition is happening right now in the automotive world. It's absolutely, spectacular, I think, in many ways. Whether you like it or not, change is coming. It will always come, and it will always change. I would love for you to share a story about yourself now. Go back in time and talk about a story that instigated this passion you have for cars. I mentioned in your introduction back in '65, you were an intern on the stand at the Paris Motor Show for Aston-Martin. What a nice way to start. But is there a pivotal moment in your life when you knew that you were indeed going to be a lifelong car guy?
I got interested in cars much earlier than that, actually. When I was about 8 or 9, I had a kind of disease which kept me in bed for about 6 months. My grandfather used to be subscribing to a car magazine at the time, a French car magazine. And since I had absolutely nothing to do all day, I read. I think it was a monthly magazine, so I had plenty of time to read absolutely every single page of it and the ads and everything.
Yeah.
And so I became quite, I wouldn't say knowledgeable, but interested in the thing. And they were cars of at that time it was the 40s and 50s, which is a period which I still like very much for historic vehicles, and the 30s as well. I think that's where it started. And then, indeed, my first paid job, but it was just for a fortnight, was at the Paris show on the Aston stand, which indeed was quite an experience, because you could see all these movie stars and quite wealthy people visiting the stand. But it did deepen my interest for, at that time it was cars, but I think the seeds have been sown, as I said, about 10 years earlier.
Yeah. Well, it was a tough way, or I should say a very challenging way to go through with that health issue you had, but what a wonderful learning lesson. And there was something good that came out of that difficult time in your life for sure. And I love the fact, being on the stand at the Paris Motor Show in the mid-'60s with Aston-Martin, you think of the very famous DB cars, known for 007 and all of this. So what a wonderful time for a young man to be around some splendid cars and very spectacular people. Let's talk a bit about a challenge or even a failure you faced along the way in your life. And I do this not so much to bring up a difficult time for you, but more so to share the learning lesson there and how you came out of that experience in a positive way, so that maybe there's a listener out there going through something similar that can see a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel that's not a train coming. So walk us through one of those times in your life, if you would, and tell us how it was learning for you.
I'm not sure I answer your question, but I'm talking of the biggest challenge I see for the historic car and vehicle movement.
Oh, great. Good.
I don't know if that...
yes, we'll take it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm cheating, because I would see two challenges which are probably interfaced to each other. One is, and you mentioned it a little bit before, is to answer the question, will we be able to use our historic vehicles in 20, 30, 40 years from now? And we've got, I would say, classic issues which are not new and which stay with us. It's anything dealing with environmental protection and road safety. So we have to explain to public authorities that actually our vehicles, yes, indeed, are not as safe or pollute more than modern vehicles, especially electric ones. But my theory there is that our vehicles are different. And I think it's only justice to treat things which are not equal in a different way, if you see what I mean. And and our vehicles are different. The norms existing at the time were different, and we have to respect that. Another way of trying to, I wouldn't say fight, but to negotiate with authorities is to use another card, essential to me, to consider our vehicles part of the national or world motoring heritage. Consider there is a culture aspect in our historic vehicles. And I don't know about California or other countries, but in France, at least, as we say, you don't touch culture. So
yes,
we have been so far, I touch wood, relatively successful in fighting or in negotiating in a positive way these sort of constraints, which are perfectly legitimate. We do not contest that vehicles on the road have to be safe and as little bring little pollution as possible. It's just that we've got arguments, including the culture one.
Yeah. This is an important point because, and correct me if I'm wrong, I understand, for instance, in Paris, there are rules about some older cars. Is it true they're not allowed in the city?
Yes and no, precisely.
Okay.
The Paris case is extremely interesting. It's not because I'm French I say that, because it could be a best practice. So it's very similar to what's happening in many countries in Europe, including Germany as well. In France, you have, and in Germany and in Belgium and in other countries, you have special driving permit for cars, V5 in England or categories in France. Different whether your vehicle is a regular vehicle or if it's a historic vehicle. And you have a definition for historic vehicles. And if your vehicle is historic, in Paris, it has no restrictions of use whatsoever. Absolutely none. It's only if the car is older than whatever year, which corresponds to Euro 4 or Euro 3 standards, then it can't be used between 8 in the morning and 8 at night. But again, if it's considered historic and you can prove it, then you can use your vehicle all the time. Same thing for the main cities in Germany.
Oh, okay. Well, there's something maybe not as restrictive, but somewhat similar in many states here in the United States. For instance, I live in Washington State, and once your car is over 30, I believe it's 30 years here.
Yeah, it's the same with FIVA. We recommend 30 years of age, yes.
Yeah, you can get a special collector plate for your car. And the benefit of that collector plate here is you don't have to re-register and repay for your tabs every year. However, you are restricted that it cannot be your daily driver and that it needs to only be driven a certain number of years or to special events, special driving events, things like that. So there's a benefit there and a restriction in a way. But if you, in this country or in this state, and I think in most of the states in the U.S., if you still want to drive an old car every day, you can, but you still have to register it and so forth. I think California is probably one of the most restrictive states, and they have certain rules and laws and things like that. But I love the concept that it's culture and it's history, and we shouldn't mess with that. We need to understand it and preserve it and understand it. And I know going to car shows, when little children are there and they see a car that's old and they go, "What is that?" Like, where's the stereo system in this old Cadillac? Well, they didn't have stereos back then. So, yeah, well, I think it's fantastic, and I think we can all learn from these things. I would like to maybe have a little bit of fun here and talk to you about your first really special vehicle, that first car in your life that was really, really special for you, and maybe share a memory you have about that ride. So what was it?
Well, my very first cars had nothing special. I was a student at the time. I was in southern France. It was a Renault 8. And then after I went into higher education, I moved to America, to Washington, D.C. And there I hit the jackpot, I thought, by buying a very second-hand 3.8 Jaguar Mark II. So that was a different kettle of fish. I mean, very, very powerful, very powerful car. I absolutely loved it. Except I was still a student taking an MBA, and I didn't. Well, when you're young, I made a kind of a race at night going to Dulles Airport with some Mustangs or whatever to show what the old not continental, but British Isles could bring in terms of mechanical engineering. And I won the race, but lost the car practically because there was not enough oil, and piston ring
oh no
collapsed, and it was very expensive to repair for a part which is probably a few cents expensive. You have to open the whole engine. So that was the end of my very, very first car love, if I may say.
Yeah, it sounds like a sad ending, but they say with and I'm going to pick on British cars a little bit here, but that's just because I can, is if there's not leaking drips in the driveway, then it's out of oil. So I could say same thing about my older Porsche as well.
If it leaks, it means you still have some oil in it.
Yes, absolutely. And that's important, especially in an old car. Oh my gosh. Well, how about seller's remorse? Is there a vehicle you've owned that you've let go that you really wish you still had?
Well, I much later on, because then I had to work seriously in my business consultancy, so I didn't use any historic vehicle for a while. and then came back when I was a bit older and had various things. And well, one was a mistake, but I had fun with it all the same. It's another English product, it's a Jensen Interceptor with a big Chrysler V8.
Yep.
Well, it was not a sports car, but very comfortable. I swapped that for something totally different, which was a Aston-Martin, precisely a DB24, the 3-liter version, which brought back many memories I experienced with the Jaguar. I mean, really cars with, very amazing power, very precise on the road. I mean, the steering and all that. Really, sports cars. The road holding is fabulous. The brakes are terrible, but it's ideal on the country lanes.
Yes, I would think so. When I was a boy, young, I wanted to buy a car, and the neighbor had a beautiful Austin Healey that I really wanted. And my father said, well, do you want a car that you'll be working on all the time, or a car that you can actually drive every day? And my father started his passion for cars with a 49 MGTC, so he knew from which he was speaking. But I ended up with a German car, a Carmen Ghia, and it served me well during my high school days. So very fun. Well, I would love for you to share more with our listeners about FIVA and about the UAE Concours and your position there as a judge. But let's start with FIVA. I would like for you to go a little bit more in depth about FIVA, what it means to cars, to culture, to trucks, motorcycles, automobiles. See, I just got fined €5, didn't I? I said the word cars. Dang, this is getting expensive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. We'll have a drink afterwards, and we'll have a nice time, Patrick.
Have a good drink. I'm not sure in the UAE it's the best place for that, but
well, no, we won't go there. We'll stay in France, because I know you have a splendid wines there, so we'll enjoy some of that. But let's talk about FIVA first, okay?
Yeah. Well, in a nutshell, we are there to protect, to preserve, and to promote world motoring heritage. It's a big job, and it addresses everyone. When we talk about motoring heritage or world motoring heritage, we want to be talking to the general public. When they see an historic vehicle at an event or going by, they must realize it's part of the culture. It's part of the engineering and aesthetic and social history of their country or the country which built it. It's a much wider vision, if I may say, than the one we had before, which was very good because it was a good communication sentence. It was yesterday's vehicles on tomorrow's roads. It sounds great. It's very good, but it's still absolutely essential. That's what we talked about a bit before. It's to defend the right to use our vehicles and keep them on the road, whatever happens, including automated or electric vehicles. But it is what I felt with our team, too narrow-minded, too intrinsically directed towards the historic vehicle community. Well, marvelous people. We love them. We work for them. We drive for them, if you want. But they do not represent the whole world. What we are interested in now is beyond that, but including that yesterday's vehicles on tomorrow's road, to address, well, it looks a bit pompous, but to address mankind, because each of these vehicles are part of our common heritage. Each of these vehicles has a story to tell, which everyone, I think, in the street is interested to know. Your car, your bike has a history to tell. Which story? Let's and then we can get people interested, if you want. The second challenge for FIVA, with that, I think, noble vision, is to make sure that in 50 years' time, let's say we can still use our vehicles, that there will still be people to drive them. Because socially, the feeling of younger generations towards the automobile in general has changed. You mentioned change at the beginning. It's not the same. the number of young people taking a driving license is decreasing. When they have one, they don't necessarily need to buy a car or a bike or whatever. They can rent it or use, some
an Uber or Lyft, Zipcar,
Right. So I think FIVA, which at the origin is a club of clubs, because we gather federations together, generally one big federation per country or one big club per country, are based on clubs. And on top of it, when they are young people, they are not necessarily interested not only in automobiles, but in joining a club. With Facebook and all the rest, you can organize a very quick event the next day with your friends, and you don't need to be part of a club for that.
Right, exactly. Are you seeing, or is FIVA as an organization, are you bringing in younger people as part of FIVA to work within the organization? Is that happening?
That's. I don't want to get too much in details, but normally, so far, we have been gathering clubs and encouraging each national club to find ways to bring more children. And some of our members, which are national federations or national clubs generally, are very good at it. And progress comes from countries you wouldn't expect sometimes. I mean, we have wonderful stories of things happening in India or in Turkey, where they have club board members organizing, bringing historic vehicles into primary schools, to confront very, very young kids with what is an historic vehicle. There's a lovely little film somewhere on YouTube about Turkey precisely, where a woman of about 25, 30, herself not being very old, brings a little Ford Anglia. I don't know if you remember.
Oh, yeah. I know that car, yes.
Right, 1958 or 59, whatever. Bright red with a white roof. With that inverted back window, is quite funny, and she brings it to the yard inside the primary school, and she just films the kids getting out for the coffee break or whatever in the playground.
Yeah,
and the car is in the middle, and she just records the expressions of the kids, all the laughter or the excitement and what they say.
How fun.
It's translated into English, and it's absolutely amazing.
Wow.
It's very refreshing. And same thing in India. Their theory, these people out there, is you've got to expose very, very young people, very young kids.
Right, to get them encouraged.
Boys and girls.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can find that and post a link to that video on your show notes page here in Cars. Yeah, the Ford Anglia, I raced, my first vintage race car was a 1960 Lotus Formula Junior, an 18, and the engine in that car was from an Anglia. It was modified a bit. The gearbox was French. It was Renault. So it was very delicate. You had to be very careful with it, but fantastic. I love the whole concept of that, of just placing a car in a yard and letting the kids explore and understand. Tell me a little bit about your anticipation for the upcoming UAE Concours. You're a judge for this Concours event. I'm promoting the Concours all this week here on Cars Yeah. What are you looking forward to for this event this year?
Well, lots of things. Seeing interesting vehicles, seeing skillful and talented people. And it'll be warmer than tonight in Paris.
Yes, a little bit. Yeah, I hear there's a desert there. So
yes, right. But I don't know. I don't know this concours. I remember I have been to Dubai a couple of times before. I can't remember if it's the same organizers, but I liked it very much. Dubai is just an amazing place. I mean, it's really worth the trip. It's really a town of the 21st century in the middle of nowhere, really. But they have a large avenue just by this huge tower. I forgot the name. The tallest building in the world, I think. Along this avenue, they presented the cars, they exhibited the cars and the bikes, all of them historic. and they were guarded at night, but they stayed for 5 or 6 nights. Now, all of them were not Concours, but you could find, really hundreds of Chevys and Pontiacs and Fords and English stuff and German stuff. Really very interesting. And what I liked most, it was the public could see them absolutely free. And they passed the word, and there were crowds, absolute crowds and families to look at that. That's what I like. Again, promote World Motoring Heritage is not only making nice little events between friends, which is fine with me, but beyond that, it's to think of showing these vehicles, explaining what they are, explaining their story. And I hope there's a little bit of that in Dubai when we go there.
I think there will be. And I'll remind our listeners, some of the other judges that will be there with Patrick, Sandra Button, who's been a guest here on Cars Yeah 3 times now. Nigel Matthews has been a guest here. Richard Adato. Simon Kidston's going to be a judge there. We're not able to get him on before the event, but he'll be a guest coming in the latter part of this year here on Cars Yeah, and a few other people. So you can go and learn a lot more about this event at uaeconcours.com. And if you would like to learn more about FIVA, just go to FIVA, FIVA.org. Multiple languages there, depending on what language you speak, and you'll enjoy learning more about FIVA. Patrick, up next is the last lap. But before we put the pedal to the metal, let's say thank you to today's Cars Yeah sponsors. When you want proven performance, there's one brand that's been around since 1938. That's Edelbrock, building the finest American-made performance products for the street and track. Edelbrock's products are designed and dyno-proven to deliver maximum results. Edelbrock has thousands of made-in-the-USA performance products for all makes and models. From their new AVS2 carburetor and innovative ProFlow 4 EFI for your muscle car or truck, to superchargers for your daily driver and more, visit Edelbrock.com to check out the latest products for your ride. And when you're ready to check out, enter Cars Yeah in the coupon code and get 10% off your order. That's Edelbrock, automotive performance since 1938. You take care of your cars, but who takes care of your investments? Tune-ups aren't just for engines. Updating your financial plan is important too. Your GPS may take you from A to B, but it won't help you on the road to financial freedom. For that, you need a good co-pilot and a very trusted advisor. Chris Kimball, CFP, is just the man for the job. He'll guide you down that road without driving you crazy. For over 25 years, Chris has helped people just like you and me with their financial planning and investments. With a master's degree in financial services, he is eminently qualified. And he's a car guy too. Learn more at chrisvkimball.com or call 866-ON-A-PLAN. Securities through Money Concepts Capital Corp. Member FINRA SIPC. CK Financial Services is not affiliated with Money Concepts Capital Corp. Are you looking for a way to get your products or services into the ears of thousands of automotive enthusiasts around the globe? I can help. This is Mark Green here at Cars Yeah, and I'd be honored to be an influencer and ambassador for your brand in a unique and personal way. 5 days a week, thousands of subscribers and listeners enjoy the Cars Yeah podcast and website. Contact me today and I'll show you how at mark@carsyeah.com or connect with me through the Cars Yeah website at carsyeah.com. All right, Patrick, we are back. I have a bit of an introspective question for you. It might be a little odd. Maybe somebody's ever asked you this before. I hope not. If you woke up tomorrow and you were manifested as a car, not what you want to be, but how you perceive yourself as a vehicle, an automotive vehicle, not just a car. It could be a bike or truck. I just saved myself €5 there. What would Patrick be and why?
Oh, Jimmy, I have no idea.
I know it's an odd question, but the way I kind of like to have you think about this is...
something classic with 4 wheels.
Okay.
Not too show-offy, not too sporty. Hopefully... How can I say? I'm looking for my words, but respectable, possibly slightly elegant,
Okay.
And I don't know if I answer your question, but
well, let me narrow it down a little. Would you be, let's say, because you have an affinity towards British cars, would you be a British car or French car?
Well, I indeed, I have an affinity for British cars, but I love some. There are great French cars in history. I mean,
yes,
especially Citroëns. They were so innovative. Many points from 1934 till, I don't know, 75, with great names like the Traction, the Deux Chevaux, the DS, of course. So not necessarily British.
Okay, so we've narrowed it down to France, which makes sense for who Patrick is. So if right off the top of your head, you had to pick a car that was French that you associate with somehow in your heart, what car would it be?
Well, I wouldn't mind being a Facel Vega then.
Oh, okay. A little American power under the hood,
exactly.
But that's French design.
That's another facet, which is interesting.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. We got there. All right, Patrick, this next round is kind of the lightning round, the last lap, as I call it. I'm going to fire off a series of questions and ask for some very quick, short answers. So here we go. What's the best automotive advice you've ever received?
For historic vehicles, buy what you like.
Yes, absolutely, because you might be stuck with it. Yeah. Would you share one of your personal habits you believe has contributed to your successes over the years?
Listen to people.
Nice. How about a resource? Is there a resource, a go-to for you that you think our listeners should go to? And I have a feeling the right answer here might just be 4 letters, FIVA maybe?
Oh, well, you remove the words from my mouth.
Well, I want to make sure people understand and go and explore the FIVA website. This is so important, what you're doing here. It really is important to the future of the automobile and for those of us who love it. So I would encourage listeners, FIVA.org. Please go there. It's a wonderful resource. You can be a part of this, no matter what part of the community you live in. Definitely FIVA is important to us automotive enthusiasts.
If I may add, on the FIVA website, you have the list of our members, which is the list of the countries which are part of FIVA.
Yes.
And if you come from the USA, have a look at Historic Vehicle Association, HVA. If you are from Britain, it's the BHVC. If you are from Germany, it's ADAC. Italy, it's ASI, etc., etc. Because listeners may be, rightfully so actually, interested in what their own country is doing to promote, protect, and preserve the national motoring heritage.
Absolutely.
FIVA is trying to coordinate all that.
Right. And here in the United States, I've had several people involved with HVA as guests here on the show. So check it out. Now, Patrick, if I could wave a magic wand and arrange for you to sit down and have a nice glass of wine or a meal with anyone in the automotive industry, living or past, deceased, who would it be?
Difficult question.
Yes.
I have a lot of admiration for people like Dr. Fred Simeone in Pennsylvania. I think his ideas and thoughts about preservation are most excellent. I like the gentleman. I had the pleasure to meet and talk with him several times. Mr. Mullin, Peter Mullin, is equally interesting. These people are absolute enthusiasts, which is wonderful. They are great thinkers as well. Other famous people I wouldn't mind having a drink with would be a bit more exuberant, but just as interesting as people like Jay Leno.
Yes. Yeah, in his garage. Well, Fred Simeone and Peter Mullin have both been guests here on Cars Yeah. So those listeners that missed my talks with those very, very interesting gentlemen who have incredible collections and prowess with cars can go back and listen to those talks on the Cars Yeah website. Patrick, is there a book that you've read that you'd like to share with our listeners? It could be about cars or anything else.
Well, that's, shall we stick to vehicles? Because otherwise we might go into, I don't know.
Wander off into the ditch.
Well, there's a journalist and writer in the automobile world from India. His name is Gautam Sen, And he wrote a book which I think is very interesting. It's called 100 billion cars for 1 billion people. It's the story of the history of the automobile in India. And it's just so different.
Yeah. Nobody's ever recommended that book.
It's not known, but you can find it on the internet,
There you go. I'll make sure I put a link to that on Patrick's show notes page so you can find that. All right, Patrick, we're almost done here today. We're up to the checkered flag, though, and this last question can be a bit of a doozy. Today, I'm going to buy you any cool collector car on the planet. Doesn't matter who owns it. If it's Peter Mullen, I'll get one from him, or Ralph Lauren, or anybody in the world. But there are a couple rules to this game that may make it a little bit more of a challenge. One is, it's the only collector car you can have, just one. The other is you have to drive it. No garage queens or museum pieces here. And it's it's a car you can't sell to buy a bunch of other cars with. So that little trick is off the table. So what can I buy you today?
Oh, if I understand the question rightly, car I can drive.
Yes, of course. I want you to drive it. That's mandatory.
And enjoy thoroughly.
Yes, enjoy, yeah.
Well, I dream of DB4 Aston-Martin. If it's the correct answer, it's a wonderful machine, I think, and such a beautiful one.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that would be a nice car. I could see you having some fun in that in the countryside there in France, down to maybe a vineyard to enjoy an afternoon wine tasting or something like that. Okay, I'll get to work on that. What color would you like that DB4 to be?
Well, I actually know one which is pale green. There's nothing wrong with that. The inside being a lovely darker green in leather, of course.
Of course. Yeah, sounds splendid. Patrick, you've taken me on a wonderful ride today. I want to thank you for calling in all the way from over the pond in France there. I want to thank you for sharing your amazing life journey with us. Could you offer us one little parting piece of wisdom or guidance before you drive off into the French countryside in that beautiful DB4?
Enjoy it. Enjoy life. Carpe diem, as the Latin would say.
Yes, carpe diem, or as we say over here, my good friend Dwight Knowlton, carpe diem, seize the road. So there you go. All right, well, listeners, I'll make sure I put links to everything that we've talked about today on Patrick's show notes page. Just go to carsyeah.com and click on that. You'll find everything under Patrick Rollet, Rollet. All right, Patrick, thank you for being so generous today with your time, your expertise, and for sharing your amazing life experiences with us. Until you and I talk again, my friend, I'll see you down the road.
Thank you. Thank you very much. See you. Bye-bye.
Merci. Hey, Mark Green here from Cars Yeah. Did you know you can now see me on the Cars Yeah TV show? It's a weekly visit to some of my past Cars Yeah podcast guests, and I take you along for the ride. You go behind the garage door and into their lives, their businesses, and you get to see what makes them successful. With tens of millions of viewers, Cars Yeah TV is making its mark. Cars Yeah TV is available on MAV TV and Lucas Oil Racing TV. You'll find MAV TV on Direct TV, Fubo TV, Fios by Verizon, or you can stream it through Lucas Oil Racing Television online. And they said I only had a face for podcasting.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.